I love biographies, kind of learning the story behind, famous people, how they got their start. What was it that made them who they are and how they got there? The backstory, we sometimes call it. That's especially true when it comes to biblical figures, though. We want to know, like, what was it like when they first heard the voice of God, when they got their call? What was it like when the apostles first met Jesus? Things like that. Even as a priest, one of the questions I get asked all the time is like, Father, when did you know you were going to be a priest? When did you get the call? What was that like? We want to know the backstory. And that's a bit what we've been going through in our first readings at Mass lately in the book of the prophet Samuel. We got Samuel's backstory, how he was called. Today we get the call story, as it were, of one of the greatest figures in the entire Old Testament, King David. Now, we heard about the anointing of Saul as king. He was the first king, but he was not a very good king. So the second king, King David, gets his famous call story today. The prophet Samuel is sent to the house of David's father Jesse, knowing that he is to anoint the king. And Jesse throws a big banquet, and his sons are there, and Samuel comes to find which one he's supposed to anoint. And he's seeing Jesse's sons and sees, well, oh, this looks like this would be more than likely the one God has in mind. But God says, no, not him. It's like, okay, well, what about this guy? He looks like he could fit the part. Not him either. In fact, God has to tell Samuel, God does not judge by appearances only. And so, in a beautiful sort of storytelling, Samuel has inspected all of Jesse's sons, and not one of them is the right one. And so he has to ask Jesse, are you sure these are all your sons? There's nobody else? And then, of course, almost as an afterthought, Jesse is, well, there is the youngest. He's, out tending sheep, though, in the fields. Well, right away, of course, we know, well, that's got to be him, right? And so, yes, they call David from the shepherding duty, and he comes, and right away, God tells Samuel, yes, that's the one, anoint him. And so Samuel takes his horn of oil and dumps it all over David's head and anoints the last person you would expect to be the king of Israel, a little shepherd boy who didn't even get invited because they wouldn't even thought of him. This is how God works a lot of time. These call stories involve the most unlikely of circumstances, people you wouldn't think of that God then chooses. And here's the important point for all of us, because it's true not just for David, but in all of our lives. It's not so much what we bring to the table that is important. Sure, we might have a lot of gifts, a lot of talents, fine. God can certainly use all that, but that is not primarily the reason that God chooses us. Rather, here's the key. God is the one writing the story. It's his story, and what makes us important and influential is the role that God chooses us to play in his story. Now that flies in the face of especially a lot of American individualism, the idea of the self-made person, I'm going to make something of myself. We think that it's all under our control. And there are things under our control, and that's fine that we do the best we can. But hear this, fundamentally, your life is not about you. The thing that makes your life most interesting, most special, most unique is that God has chosen you to play a part in his great story. This theologically, we will often refer to the story God is writing as the theodrama. Theos is the word for God in Greek. And so the theodrama is the story God is writing. And your life is ultimately, yes, of great significance. You are incredibly important, but not because of your own abilities, your own qualities, or anything about you. Rather, you are incredibly important because God has chosen you to play a part in his story. And far be it from us thinking like, oh, well, I'm not important because it's not my story. No, you get to play a part in this beautiful story that God is writing. And that makes life exciting. So it reminds me of a lesson I learned when I was an actor in high school and I joined the International Thespian Society. The motto of the society is act well your part. There all the honor lies. It's actually a quote by the English poet Alexander Pope. But I offer it to you today as you think of what part is God causing you to play in his great theodrama, his story. Whatever your part is, it's a big one because it's yours. So act well your part. There all the honor lies. And God bless you.